So before we dive in, please remember that this video is for educational purposes only and should not be considered as a substitute for professional help if you need it. If you're working through trauma or emotional challenges, please consider reaching out to a trauma-informed therapist who can offer you guidance tailored to your unique needs. So with that being said, have you ever felt like you have different parts inside of you, each with its own voice and agenda? Internal family systems, or IFS, is a therapeutic approach based on the idea that we all have a complex internal system of parts, each carrying unique feelings, memories, and goals. These parts often develop as a response to past experiences, particularly challenging or traumatic ones. IFS doesn't see these parts as the problem. Instead, it seeks to help us understand and harmonize them so that they can work together rather than against each other. So at this point, you might ask, how does IFS relate to structural dissociation? For those who've experienced trauma, structural dissociation is the phenomenon of splitting into two main types of parts: the apparently normal part, or A&P, that functions in day-to-day life, and emotional parts, or EPs, that carry traumatic memories and emotions. In IFS terms, these parts might correspond to various protectors and exiles. The goal of IFS in this context is to build a bridge between these parts so that they can come together, heal, and eventually integrate, leading to a greater sense of inner peace and wholeness. So you might be asking at this point, what do the apparently normal part and emotional parts play in IFS? The apparently normal part, or A&P, is typically the part that keeps us grounded in the present, handling responsibilities and routines. The emotional parts, on the other hand, often contain memories, fears, or unresolved pain linked to past experiences. In IFS, these parts are treated with compassion. So by acknowledging and giving each part a voice, IFS allows them to express and release the burdens they carry, facilitating integration and self-acceptance. It's important that you work with a trauma-informed therapist trained and certified in IFS because it involves delving into sensitive parts of ourselves that may have been hidden or suppressed for a long time, especially after trauma. A trauma-informed therapist trained in IFS can create a safe, supportive environment to help you explore these parts without judgment. They understand the unique challenges that trauma can present and guide you in reconnecting with these parts gently at your own pace, which is essential for a safe and meaningful healing process. Integration is essentially the process of allowing all parts to exist harmoniously. Instead of one part controlling your actions or feelings, each part can contribute without overwhelming you. In IFS, this often involves the therapist guiding you to meet each part, listen to its needs, and offer it comfort and understanding. Over time, the apparently normal part and emotional parts begin to work together, transforming from conflicted voices to a cohesive, supportive internal family. When the apparently normal part and emotional parts operate independently or in conflict, it can lead to internal tension, self-sabotage, and confusion. By bringing these parts together, IFS helps us feel more aligned and balanced. This integration doesn't mean getting rid of any part. Instead, it means reducing internal conflict and gaining more control over our responses, leading to a greater sense of wholeness and inner calm. So at this point, you might ask, what role does the concept of the self play in IFS? In IFS, the self is the core, compassionate leader within us, separate from our parts. The self is calm, curious, and confident, and the goal of IFS is to empower the self to lead the inner system. With the self as the leader, each part, whether it's the apparently normal part or an emotional part, feels safe and heard. This compassionate approach fosters a deeper connection with ourselves and can dramatically improve our ability to navigate life's challenges. Now, while IFS is best explored with a trauma-informed therapist, one way to get started is by practicing mindful self-reflection. Pay attention to moments when you feel conflicting emotions or urges, and try to identify the part that might be speaking. Ask yourself gently, What is this part trying to tell me? What does it need? This simple exercise can start to build awareness of your inner parts and open the door to deeper integration. When we begin to understand and harmonize our inner parts, we bring a more stable, compassionate presence into our relationships. IFS enables us to approach ourselves with curiosity instead of judgment, which translates to how we relate to others. Instead of reacting from a place of pain or fear, we can respond from a place of understanding and self-assurance, improving both our relationships with ourselves and those we care about. So if you're curious about IFS or have questions about integrating your inner parts, let's start a conversation in the comments. Have you had any experiences with inner parts or self-leadership? I'd love to hear your thoughts or insights. Remember, healing is a journey, and by learning to honor each part of ourselves, we can take big steps toward a balanced, harmonious life.